So in this video, I want to talk about the relationships between different characters in the recent episodes for Mushoku Tensei, because as I've talked over the many episodes and the many months and many years of Mushoku Tensei, I've always talked about the human element that comes from the series itself. And some of those is interesting power dynamics between Rudeus's sort of, you could argue, obsession with Roxy, especially with certain underwear that he possesses, and you could argue whether it's a healthy thing or an unhealthy thing. I definitely think there are many healthy aspects in the sense of kind of like keeping him on a good track, but then there's some aspects that you could debate that are unhealthy in the sense of it being obsessive itself and a little bit too, a bit over the top. But then you also look at the relationship that Rudy has with Paul, and as Paul kind of gets all giddy and excited when Rudy sits and goes, "Oh, you seem stronger," and Paul's just like, "Nah, I'm kind of getting old, I'm getting weak, I'm getting rid of the ages," and then kind of does that little giddy face as he's walking off because he's so happy to see that his son looks up to him as, you know, that dependable, strong warrior. And then Ellen Elise, after her little bit of a back and forth with Paul, how she kind of melds in with the group. And honestly, one of the things that kind of a what-if scenario, and I'm just creating this what-if. Imagine if Rudy never left to go teach Eris. Let's say the whole Mana disaster never happened, or whatever we call it, the big disaster. And Rudy just studied magic, was with Roxy, and they all decided to get back into adventuring. And imagine like if Ellen Elise also came along and the crew, the original crew, the Fang group was back, but instead you had Rudy and Roxy and them being one big group. I don't know, just the idea of that as a what if would be really interesting, because it'd be like a fun little group with, like, of course Ellen Elise would be part of it, Rudy, Roxy, and then you've also got Zenith as well, because that whole disaster never happened. I just kind of wondered to myself what it would feel like if they were all just one big happy family and the other parts of it didn't exist. Like, they're just going on adventures, going in dungeons, exploring different unknown places. It just kind of made me wonder that when I was watching this episode, because of the interaction between Rudy and Roxy. But I will say, Roxy does seem very much more cuter, in my opinion, in the anime than in the light novels, mainly because my imagination is probably atrocious when it comes to picturing Roxy's blushing and everything. So the anime actually did a really good job at kind of making me kind of see that kind of innocent, sweet little look that she gives Rudy when she realizes, oh, it is Rudy, but she kind of didn't picture him being that, you know, cute little adorable boy growing up into the handsome, tall, rugged man that he is. Which is funny also if you think about how devious Rudy was, and Roxy kind of saw him as cute back then. So I definitely think that would have made Rudy feel quite chuffed of himself. And this is the thing, again, the human element of all these interactions, of all these relationships, and how they grow and blossom. But it is that one thing of Rudy and Roxy and their relationship, because it's definitely a relationship that went from master to pupil to kind of almost like equal footing. Rudy is, let's be honest, very talented in many areas in magic, better than Roxy, but Roxy does have the advantage in some areas as well. But the fact that Rudy can do silent casting and has the mana pool that he has gives him a tremendous advantage above others, even though he doesn't have quite the amount of experience that some others do. But he has built up that experience as time has gone on. But Roxy is able to pass on that experience as they're going through the dungeon, which allows him to learn and build more on that. And then having the others there, like Paul, now he's dual wielding. He's going to be the Kirito that we all so desire. I'm just saying that because I know I'll provoke someone. You just see those moments where they interact, the fights and everything. It just is so amazing to see these situations come to life in an anime format. Now, as far as cut content goes, I spoke about it last week. There was some cut content. There's still some cut content, but there's some stuff that from last week that was technically people classified as skipped cut content. It's tomato, it's the same difference. That was kind of touched on a little bit this week as well, which makes sense because it's all about flowing, but there is still some stuff that's kind of pruned over. But to me, it really doesn't matter that much unless you really want to nitpick at all those things that are cut. Then again, as I always say, go read the light novels, because that's where you're going to get the perfect iteration, because it is the source material itself. Which, again, I don't think it is a bad thing that animes do prune over some things, as long as I harp on about it, but as long as it sticks to the core components of the story, that's all that matters. But I've really been loving how Mushoku Tensei has been turning out, especially with seasons 1 and 2, and it's nice to just see a little bit more of Rudy just doing things with his parent, with his father, and with other crew, and it not being so focused on other aspects of the story that seem to draw up drama. And because now we've moved away from the Academy arc, some fans are a little bit more happier that they've moved away from the Academy, because for some reason some people really hated the Academy arc. For me, it's one of my favorite arcs, or is my favorite arc, because it's such a pivotal moment in Rudy's growth. It's going from that sort of really low hanging point of him being basically just down in the dumps, really not in a good mindset, just not as a good person, and then growing and building himself up from that. Now it's not to say that it doesn't go down in the dumps again, because Mushoku Tensei is a roller coaster that never stops to disappoint. So I'm not going to spoil, but let's just say enjoy the moments while you can. And I'm not even talking about this season either. So I'm loving it. I really love those interactions, but I'd love to ask the question off to yous. And this is the real interesting question. What do you think about Rudy and Roxy's relationship? I know some people are going to say, it's amazing, it's so great, they're so cute together. But do you think it's really that healthy that Rudy is so obsessive? In some parts it's really cute, especially when he's pacing himself up and back, and Roxy's just kind of like, you're a little bit distracting, and then he kind of gets mopey, and then she's like, I could have some help here understanding the teleportation. He rushes there. It's cute. But at the same time, if we did that in real life, it would seem creepy. So that's why I kind of point that out. And I know anime, real life aren't the same, but I do think Roxy kind of sees the cutest side in him, that he's been innocent. He's not trying to be weird or anything. He's just really excited to see the person that he looks up to so much. And so he can get a little bit carried away. And I think that's fine. But there is some little bit parts where you got to kind of be like, okay, Rudy, you need to calm down a little bit. Just relax. She's not going to evaporate out of thin air. She's still there. Take a deep breath. But at the same time, you can't help but think it's a little bit adorable. Just the innocence. He's kind of almost become a little bit childlike, the innocent childlike mindset, where he's just giddy to kind of see that person that he really idolizes and looks up to. And I don't think it's anything romantic at this point in the story, but it's something that he idolizes her. That's what it is. He really heavily idolizes her because of what she did for him in that past, where she allowed or helped him overcome that major trauma point. Which is why it's always funny when people say Rudy never suffered or got any consequences from his actions. Yeah, that's why he had massive traumas and wasn't able to go outside because of the bullying in his past life. The fact that he's gone through all these highs and lows because of the things that have gone on in his life, whether he's at fault or not. He's definitely had some ups and downs. And I think seeing that growth is what makes the series just that much better. But I feel like I harp on too much about the human element. But I just like to emphasize on it, because I think that's one thing some people really forget, that this is trying to follow the human element. It's not perfect, because again, it is a fantasy world, but it does a really great job at showing that element. And I think a lot of the haters don't like the series because it does touch on realistic emotions, realistic issues that they themselves don't want to think about, because maybe, just maybe, it might be a bit of a mirror into their own lives. So again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of these recent episodes? Any and all thoughts are definitely welcome. Keep them civil. If you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.